Hi, my name is Tess Bowden.
I'm Callum Annesley.
And I'm Sophie Waters.
And today we'll be answering the question, what kind of HASS teachers do we want to be, for our EDM 441 final assignment. So for starters, we wanted to look at professional development. So as a HASS teacher, professional development is vital, as it allows one to constantly build upon your skills and adapt your teaching approach to adopt new processes. It involves being able to examine your own personal practices as well as those of the people within the school and community. 4 lenses that address each of these areas on examining practices include the autobiographical, which is a self-reflective lens that examines how past experiences and culture shape our assumptions on students and society. The student lens identifies students' understanding of how we teach and relate to them along with their perspective on the school and their education. For instance, if students have placed a low worth on the school and their education, this is likely to have a negative impact on how we teach. The collegial lens, which involves observing and learning from colleagues, which is an opportunity to adopt teaching processes outside of our own. And finally, the theoretical lens, which includes researching new ideas and resources to compare with current practices. Next, we looked at democratic pedagogy. So Shaw describes this as a student-centered program for multicultural democracy within school and society, which is supported by democratic values of cooperation, individual growth, developing strong academic and social skills, habits of inquiry and critical curiosity about society and inequality. Sometimes this approach can be criticised for its lack of structure when compared with more traditional methods of teaching, which is why it's key that there's a balance between structure and openness. This means that the learning experiences must be relevant and valuable to students with clear learning intentions to ensure that students remain engaged and motivated to participate. It's relevant to the kind of HASS teachers we want to be, as it encourages students to apply what they have learned in their own experiences to develop their understanding of society. Next, we looked at utilising generative and topical themes when creating the curriculum. So a generative theme refers to primary subject matter, which is based on popular culture that may be relevant to students, which highlights challenging conditions in their daily life, which can be the basis of critical class discussions. So this could be diet, music, advertising. Topical themes refer to the bigger, more complex societal issues that may not come up organically in student conversation. It underpins the challenging conditions of their daily life, though, and by the understanding of these themes needs to be developed over time through collaborative tasks. So these include peace, unemployment, TV violence, poverty, refugees, and so forth. As a HASS teacher, including these themes in your classroom is important, as it moves students from being passive learners of content they may deem irrelevant to active citizens, educated on the bigger picture issues of society and aware of how these affect their daily lives. Strategies to incorporate these themes into the HASS curriculum could include activities like keeping personal diaries, sharing stories and experiences, conducting interviews, gathering media reports, and role-play activities. It's important for us as HASS teachers to recognise that students are capable of eliciting change in society, and that it's our duty to be passionate about scaffolding them through authentic learning experiences into critical thinkers and active citizens to better the conditions of the society that they grow in.
Yes. All right. So other things that we want to include in our HASS teaching is that we want to include child's interest and individual background into the creation of the curriculum. So that means we need to build upon students' pre-existing interests, and that's sort of done to maintain engagement in activities. And incorporating the background of student body can help them sort of feel accepted, and we can even utilise that for teaching. So an example, if we were learning about different cultures represented around the world, we could look at the representation of those cultures within the peer group. Shaw suggests that this is like one aspect that works towards democratic education. So we're incorporating students' individual knowledge and background, and that offers invaluable experience to other students as it allows them to learn from each other, discuss issues with one another, and talk about the values they have, and incorporate their funds of knowledge into the learning. We would also like to include collaborative group work and class discussions to expose students to different ideas that could challenge their own beliefs. So as many theorists suggest, children or human beings in general are social creatures, and we learn through socialization or being part of a community or group. So collaborative work gives children the opportunity to establish broader ways of thinking and have numerous backgrounds and past experiences to draw from, not just those evident in the individual. So they get more opportunity to discover more. And class discussions are always an integral part of my teaching, so I'll definitely use that with HASS teaching because it allows me to delve into circumstantial learning and take a deeper look at what interests students have at the time that the interest is actually peaked, so it's still relevant and they're still engaged. I would also want to encourage students to be open-minded so that they can accommodate and assimilate knowledge according. So they should be taught how to be open-minded themselves and to be open to the input and ideas of others. So that's to say they should start adopting others' ideas into their own understandings or replace prior ideas with new information if it's more factually sound or relevant to the core values and beliefs of that student. So creating open-minded, accepting students paves the way for social change, and it sort of disrupts the current state of dogmatics present within society, and it invokes questioning and inquiry-based learning, which is more authentic in our eyes. We would also hope to create a co-developed curriculum that can be explored in a democratic classroom environment. So that means that we want students to get the most out of our teaching, so that means they should have a say in what they're being taught and how it's being taught. So the curriculum, obviously we know, has to be aligned with what's already present, but it can be taught in any way we see fit as long as it does meet that alignment. So the way it's taught should correlate with students' interests and be catered to their needs. And that's sort of a key democratic education, or a key idea of democratic education, because it provides students with a chance to not only engage in critical thinking about why they may object to a task or fact, but also take control of their learning. It attempts to reach higher levels of participation activities and have students look at problem solving and critical thinking and broaden and challenge their views of the world. A negotiated curriculum built on students' language, themes, and understandings through student-oriented subject matter is how we believe they can best be taught. Now to Sophie.
Okay, so another important quality that I'd like to incorporate in my teaching would be to take on a student-based approach to teaching and learning. So this can be done through a co-developed curriculum, creating a safe environment, and through open-ended tasks. A co-developed curriculum gives students a say and incorporates their interests so that to engage in authentic learning. To do this, a teacher should negotiate and collaborate on the learning with students to share ownership of the learning. Sharing the power in the classroom helps students to become more powerful and independent learners. A co-developed curriculum also reflects the interests and values of the students and connects their interests to the learning. John Dewey said that education that doesn't connect to kids is not education. This is because the students will become disengaged. It is important to build positive relationships in a safe and supportive learning environment and to be present to the kids, being in the moment so that they feel they are valued. A good HASS teacher should also use open-ended tasks that encourage collaboration and the sharing of ideas, as well as promoting dialogue and discussions. This allows for students to be researchers and use technology also. Shaw comments that student-centered education is important as it encourages inquiry, problem-solving, critical thinking, engagement, and creativity in students. I also think it is important for a HASS teacher to keep up to date and informed on current events and problems that are relevant to the child's society. So it's important to look at social issues that are important to students in the media and to analyse these through critical thinking, then to research the issues, and then students can take social action. I also think it is critical to keep up to date with current events to make the learning real, relevant, and meaningful to students. This allows for the students to engage in activist learning, acting against inequalities, or involving in social movements that they value. A good HASS teacher should be active in the local community and community issues, including bringing these local or relevant issues into the classroom. For example, discussing with students what changes they would like to see in their community and how they could go about making these changes. Students learn through doing and by thinking about experiences, so it's important to make the learning real and relevant to the students by engaging them in tasks that are authentic.
In conclusion, we want to be the kind of teachers that affect social change through democratic education built upon the students in a holistic sense. Thank you.